Hello, it's 10 p.m. in Accra and 11 p.m. in Glasgow, United Kingdom, midnight in Pretoria, South Africa. Wherever you are, this is News at 10 with me, Stephen Enti. The bulletin is coming to you live from the News Hub at Adisawe Kanda. And let's first start with the major news highlights of the day. The Osudoku Senior High Technical School will reopen Friday. This follows a directive by the Environmental Protection Agency asking Shine Fuel Company, the Chinese recycling and toilet roll producers, to halt operations to reduce environmental pollution. Meanwhile, sources at the school allege that the school's environment is still polluted, particularly at night, because the company is still operating. And the Supreme Court, presided over by a single judge, Justice Yao Appel, has quashed an earlier decision by the Court of Appeal refusing human rights lawyer Francis Sosu an application to stay of execution. The Supreme Court therefore granted leave for the lawyer to file an appeal against the punishment handed to him by the General Legal Counsel. And also tonight, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, as well as the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, on Wednesday met the General Legal Counsel and Association of Law Students. The meeting was to consider a petition from LLB holders regarding the laying of a legislative instrument by the General Legal Counsel on admissions into the Ghana School of Law. And the inflation rate for January was 10.3%, down by 1.5% from the previous 11.8% recorded in the previous year, December. Major food and non-food items. Elsewhere in Zimbabwe, the main opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai has died in South Africa. Tsvangirai, 65, a former prime minister, had reportedly been suffering from colon cancer. Tsvangirai's career was marked by a long political struggle against former President Robert Mugabe. He had been beaten and imprisoned numerous times under the former President Robert Mugabe. Those are our major news highlights. Remember, you can hear us live on 3FM 92.7, and we're also streaming live on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. Let's start with our very first story. South Africa's embattled President Jacob Zuma has resigned his office with immediate effect. He made the announcement in a televised address to the nation on Wednesday evening. Earlier, Jacob Zuma's governing ANC party told him to resign or face a vote of no confidence in Parliament on Thursday. The 75-year-old has been under increasing pressure to give way to Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, the ANC's new leader. Zuma, who has been in power since 2009, faces numerous allegations of corruption. Let's quickly run you through some of the key controversies that Zuma faced during his term in office. For example, Zuma faced a high-profile scandal since his election in 2009. He survived 8 no-confidence votes in Parliament. Now, he also appointed 3 finance ministers in 1 week and spent government money upgrading his private home in rural Nkandla. He refused to repay government money spent on that upgrading. He faced corruption charges over government arms deal in 1999 and also faced other allegations over relationship with the Gupta family. He faced criticism over his poor management of the economy. This is a developing story, and we have at the studio tonight Francis Atta, who is an international relations expert who works here with us at TV3. We're going to discuss some of the expectations, what is expected to happen in South Africa following this resignation. Francis, I'm happy that you were here when this happened. How are you, sir? I know you've been watching the trend in South Africa. Sure. Tell me whether you anticipated that this will happen.
Sure, I did. And I was actually surprised he waited till now.
Exactly.
Because the ANC has a history, and the history is directly linked to a man called Nelson Mandela. So Mandela was a big man, not only in South African politics, but in international politics. So once you sit in the seat of such a man, you are automatically expected to lead a particular life.
And portray some integrity, which he didn't have.
Go outside. And Zuma's case was peculiar, because you mentioned the Gupta family, and this was a family, a rich family from India, and issues of money laundering is an international crime. And he was immersed in money laundering. He used public funds to rehabilitate his private home.
Rural home.
And he was ordered by court to refund. He didn't do it. These are just two of the many corruption scandals he got himself. And being president, he needed to have confidence in the people. The people needed to have confidence in him. He was not able to do it.
To do that.
He was supposed to do the honorable 10 long ago.
You mentioned earlier that you do not understand why he waited that long. But what do you think was the reason he hung around all this while till
Probably
today?
he was expecting negotiation with the ANC. Earlier he said he was ready to resign after 6 months. So maybe he thought the ANC would give him some chance to have negotiate with him and then possibly extend his tenure. You
think the ANC was also being a little unfair or too harsh on a man who was still president?
The ANC has an image to protect. It has a history to protect. So if you have spent so much years fighting for freedom for the black, and then a black man comes and misusing public funds and engaged in practices that are alleged to be detrimental to the development of the state, then the ANC needed to act.
And the ANC also is faced with quite a lot of tussle to win the next election. But can you tell me whether this is likely to end the uncertainties? With Zuma out, is that all? Is that the end of all the confusion and uncertainties within the party and within the governing structure of South Africa?
Yes and no. Yes, because now the people of South Africa know what is happening. They at least know that they are going to election next year, and they have a president called Cyril Ramaphosa for now. So the uncertainty around the political system of South Africa is for now calmed down. No, because right now there was a police ransack in the house of the Gupta family. 5 people arrested. People are calling for investigation into the ministers of Zuma. So that side too is there. No one knows what the new government will do with Zuma and his ministers.
What is your prediction moving forward for South Africa? Zuma is out. You don't think the uncertainties will end because arrests and things have started. I also predict that Zuma, the investigations into all these corruption allegations will intensify once he's no longer president and under immunity. But further on, what other predictions do you have, do you foresee for South Africa?
I think South Africa will go ahead to conduct the election. Cyril most likely will win and become the next president of South Africa. Zuma may be considered in a way. He's been a president, and you know, Africa.
Yeah, and the respect for
we respect our elders. So he may, but some of his ministers may not find, especially his association with the Gupta family, they may not get themselves
easy at all, right? Francis Attah, we're grateful for your time. Francis Attah is actually an international relations expert. He works right here with us, and we're fortunate that when the news broke, he was in. We pulled him to do this snappy analysis. I'm Stephen Enti, and you're still watching News at 10. Let's move on to some other stories there. Osu Doku Senior High Technical School will reopen Friday. This follows a directive by the Environmental Protection Agency asking Shine Fuel Company, the Chinese recycling and toilet roll producers, to halt operations in order to reduce environmental pollutions. Meanwhile, our sources at the school allege that the school's environment is still polluted, particularly at night, because the company is still operating.
The Osu Doku Senior High Technical School in Esuchari was shut down temporarily following harmful smoke emitted by toiletries and plastics manufacturing Chinese company close to the school. The pollution from the Shine Fuel Company caused the closure of the school for safety reasons. The EPA has directed Shine Fuel Ghana Company Limited to halt operating the plastic recycling side of the company. The smoke, as you see currently from the chimney, is being disposed intermittently following the restriction by the EPA directing the company to stop operating. But according to people who live around and teachers who are still on campus, they do this late in the night and even in the day. We have been here for about an hour, and once a while, intermittently, you see smoke coming out of the chimney, very dark, and also bringing along a stench, more like a burning plastic.
That is just a small of it. Yeah, it's a serious stench, as if someone is burning rubber.
To me, one of our teachers told me even this morning that EPA came here to lock the place. But to me, it's not true because the smell of the rubber, what they produce, still comes. Yesterday around 10:32, it was coming.
10:32 in the night.
In the night, and this morning too. That means still they are producing. They haven't stopped production. But it looks like when the big men want to come down, then they'll stop production. I don't know who gives them the message. Then when they have left, then it comes. So it looks like they produce more in the night than in the day.
Information from the school indicated measures were being put in place to reopen on Friday. Some students who had remained on campus due to their sporting activities were worried their colleagues would come back to meet the same situation.
As they told them to stop operating, but still seems the smoke is still disturbing us, especially in the evening when it knocks around 1:32. It seems they have been releasing it more and more than the daytime, whereby it worries at most.
Omar Farouk, a teacher at the school, expressed worry at the impact of the pollution on academic work.
This week we are supposed to have started the examination, which is mock for the third years. But today should have been the day 3. We would have started on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But here's the case: that examination is out, and we don't know what the future holds for these children so far as WASSCE exams is concerned.
Meanwhile, managers of the Shine Fuel Company have refuted claims they are still operating. Taking the news team around the plastic section of the company, which they claim has been closed down, Deputy General Manager Chintao said the company was making arrangements to either relocate their company or their school.
For the plastic recycle side, we already stopped as the EP request. So since the day they come, we don't operate. And Assemblyman wants us to help them to move, relocate the school as soon as possible. So we also agreeing to building 6 classrooms and 1 office and a washroom for them. So we finished the foundation now.
You're actually speaking with a Ghanaian English accent. Well, let's move away from that to Parliament. The Select Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, as well as the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, on Wednesday met the General Legal Council and the Association of Law Students. The meeting was to consider a petition from the LLB holders regarding the laying of a legislative instrument by the General Legal Council on admissions into the Ghana School of Law.
The General Legal Council laid the regulations in Parliament on December 22, 2017 in response to a Supreme Court order for a clear admission procedure into the Ghana School of Law and call to the Ghana Bar. The proposed LI, among others, states that the General Legal Council will conduct an entrance exam to admit students to the school and also conduct interviews for all applicants who pass the Ghana School of Law entrance examination. But this infuriated the law students who say it is against the Supreme Court ruling. Mahama Ayariga is the chairman of the Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament.
We are not sitting here to condone a system that produces substandard lawyers. If the mark is 50, keep it to 50. The message you will send out to every other person intending to go to law school is that you have to work very hard in order to meet the 50 mark. The final product, which was laid in Parliament, was withdrawn on account of a technical matter, not a substantive legal matter.
Chairman of the Constitution, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament, Ben Abdallah, added the committee will factor in concerns of students.
What then is the basis for the conduct of an entrance exam? Because the quotas at the end of the day or ultimately end up regulating and cutting down the number of students who will be entering the law school in order to access legal education. If this is the argument, or if this is the basis, then what is the justification for the conduct of entrance exam?
Kofi Bentil is the counsel for the Association of Law Students of Ghana.
My recommendation is that in pursuance of the General Legal Council's own objects, it must seek to expand opportunity for legal education. This country needs more lawyers and not less. And I could go on and explain so many reasons why we need more lawyers and not less. That's one. Secondly, I think respectfully that it is an error for us to conflate the Ghana School of Law with professional legal education. So we need to appreciate the fact that although the Ghana School of Law can continue to exist, in pursuance of their own law, in Section 13, which says that through the School of Law they set up or through any other educational institution. And if you go to Article 25, even including private educational institutions, and we have a situation where there are even public institutions which are very ready to do this.
A member of the Ghana Legal Council, Professor Kofi Kwashiga, insisted the move by the council is aimed at ensuring quality legal education in Ghana.
If we do not go through this, it may mean that we may not be able to admit in 2018 until we complete this exercise. Yeah. Because we cannot admit under the old system. That is why we are pushing for the completion of this exercise so that we can admit for 2018.
This is still news at 10. We're live on TV3 and live on 3FM 92.7. We have more news for you. Please don't go away. Welcome back. Now, a member of the Appointments Committee of Parliament, Joseph Yele Chire, says Martin Amido is a principled man who will not allow political interference in his job. The MP for Wild West, Yele Chire, insists the special prosecutor nominee could resign if it becomes apparent that there is political pressure from government to influence his job.
I have been with Martin Amido. He was a prefect when I was in school, in Navrongo Secondary School. So that's where we first met. And of course, after 1982, we young people came together to support the 31st December Revolution. And that's where we started working together again. I was a minister or secretary then. He was a deputy secretary. His principles are really strong. I mean, when he thinks that something is wrong, he states it without any hesitation. He is unorthodox in a number of ways. What everybody expects you to do, Martin, if he is not convinced, will not do those things. He doesn't do things to please other people necessarily. He does the things because he always considers it as a responsibility and a duty to serve the downtrodden, make sure that it's fair to people as much as possible. I believe that if he is given the position and he begins to do things and he sees interference or he sees sabotage or some things or lack of resources which will make him appear to be incompetent, he's not somebody who is just looking for a position of honor. So I will not be surprised if he does so. Because it's somebody, when he sees that he's not making effort in what he wants to do, he doesn't hesitate to take the next step.
And that's it for the news. Thank you very much for making time. I am Stephen Enti, and on behalf of the crew, good night. There is more news at 3news.com.